go ahead. Who wants to start?
All looking at me, I don't know.
Well, you're on the red hand over there, so
Oh,
you can
alright.
start first if you want, or we can jump around.
I was trying
Makes a
to
difference.
kind of keep track of yes and no, and you know, it's just about dead even. If we defer it, we're not changing what the residents voted for, and that was the use of marijuana, not storefronts. They didn't vote on that. They didn't vote on agriculture. They voted on your right to use it and to grow your own. So I think there's a big difference between what I'm hearing. People think that they voted yes, that we want dispensaries in our city, or we want to grow it in our city. I don't think that was the case at all. I think we're such a small city and have such a small budget that anything here could be the tipping point. Yeah, the taxes would be great if they came, when they came. But I don't know that that risk for us right now is worth it. I like door number 2.
Okay, I have a lot of notes. I'm gonna just kind of go down. I'll start with the brief first. I didn't want to interrupt you, Gary, because it was a good brief. So I have slide scribble. Let's see here. All right, so on the page 3, we talk about the general tax, do 50% plus 1. I think any tax that I would want to support with that would be a tax that is generalized, so we can have the allow limits to spend that money on something not specific. Now we can do a general tax. I mean, this is more of a question. We can do a general tax in November 2017 if the council unanimously thinks it's an emergency to do, or no?
No. A general tax can only be on the ballot at the same time that council members are also up for election, which would be November of 2018. A special tax can go at any time.
I thought we could do, I mean, I don't know if this would happen. I'm just more curious now. If the 5 of us said, hey, this is something we need to vote on, this is an emergency, can we, is that?
I'm not aware of any
Okay.
emergency provision that would bypass that regular.
Okay. I didn't really look at what what's preventing us from treating this like developers, where they pay fees up front to cover the staff work? Because I'm of the same mindset. I don't want to spend a bunch of money. I don't think we should. I don't think it's responsible to do that. But I think there's a way to do this where we can do it responsibly and transfer that, mitigate that from us to the industry. Is there a way to treat them like developers?
Well, to remove the fiscal risk from the city, sure, deposit a contribution to the city of, say, $500,000. That certainly would fund our process through the election and provide us a good reserve for any exposure to litigation that would follow from that adventure. But yeah, that would remove the risk.
Okay.
And that's the concern of the city, is the fiscal structure that we have.
So, okay. I'll be more. Let's say we get through the election. Let's say we make an ordinance and we go forward with it, and we say yes, you can do this. Let's just say just blanket yes, you can do it. For the industry, for the growers, for the dispensary, when they go to take that land and rezone it to whatever we decide it needs to be to grow marijuana on, can we treat them like developers and have them pay impact fees up front, so we're not spending staff time and money and lawyer time and money to mitigate some of the costs? Is that an option?
I mean, that kind of goes back to the Prop 26 question.
Okay.
We can develop a regulatory license fee
Okay.
to recover ongoing costs of administration, kind of going forward
Okay.
in the future. Recovering the startup costs, bit of a gray area, and it's unclear in the law whether those startup costs can be included.
Okay.
Some cities have been aggressive and have included those costs, but it hasn't been litigated. I don't have a case I can point to say, yeah, that's definitely okay. It's kind of a maybe.
When you say startup cost, do you mean this process right here that we're
Yes.
going through? Okay.
Yeah, if we want to go back to that slide, that's 1 and 2 on the
Okay.
slide.
Everything else, okay, I see what you're saying, okay. Along those same lines, if we treat them like developers, or the industry like developers, I say them, I mean industry, whatever we go forward with, to mitigate the CEQA study that we have to pay for, can we transfer that to them? Same
Yeah,
thing?
that, that's included in 1 and 2, which is possibly, if we want to take a very aggressive approach, but there's
Okay.
not a clear, statement in the law that says we can.
Okay, and the CEQA study would be required by the city before we go forward with, maybe that, in that cost that you laid out, is that an absolute necessity, or is that something that we can just pawn off?
I mean, anytime a city adopts an ordinance that changes permitted land uses, which that's what this would be. It would be a zoning ordinance that changes land uses and allows new types of land uses that aren't currently allowed.
Okay.
The CEQA guidelines state expressly that that is a project under CEQA and you need to do a CEQA analysis of that.
So everybody knows I'm asking this out of ignorance. I don't know that, so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the implement Prop 64 page, the costs. I'm just asking a question about number 3. I understand that there'd likely be an increased cost with public safety, fire, code enforcement. Is that $250 plus, the $200,000 plus, is that with the assumption that they're gonna be there for an hour, or is that, are we taking the entire cost of, are we basically assuming that cop's gonna be parked in front of the dispensary?
Well, and looking at the Long Beach issues,
Yeah.
when they circulated this request to all their departments, what's the impact gonna be to your department? If the place that wasn't, sitting in front of the existing permitted dispensary, that wasn't the issue. It was all the whack-a-moles, all the pop-ups, dispensaries that were unpermitted, that they had to chase after. And that's where all the resources went into. So it's those guys that are popping up in our community who do not have the permits that we'll be spending time with.
And we're gonna potentially deal with that anyway, right? Okay. Let's see, next, okay, I think Gina actually touched on this. The next slide I had, that 1%, would be $250 for the city. I forgot, Tom, from last meeting, the specifics of what we would get if we had no tax. Is it 1%, or is it, there's a percentage of that 1% that we get? It's something like that, right? We get like that 1% from the state, and then we would have an excise tax on top of that, 1 to 3%, that would be coming back to us, right?
I think we would have to adopt that, though.
Yeah, no.
If we put that on the ballot.
With the excise tax be 1%. Now, the way the law is written, if we made an ordinance, we would already get 1% from the state, right? Yeah, from regular sales tax.
Right, we would get
Okay.
that percentage, whatever that is, in our community.
Okay, so as it stands with no excise tax, we had $25 million in sales. We could expect that 250 just to be. I mean, that's a. I'm going to get to my cons here in a second. I have a lot of cons with some comments too.
And to that point on that 250 estimate, which is why in Gary's presentation, the suggestion that contracting with a tax consultant who could come in and give you a clear estimate on what's the kind of tax revenue you could expect if you did this from some kind of an independent source would come in and let you know here's what the revenue that you would be looking at.
And that's something I think that would be the responsible thing to do, I think. Okay, so I have another page of notes, sorry, folks. Let's see, so I read something today, I'm just making it public. Just Jeff Sessions interviewed with 4 state governors that have legalized marijuana on the 29th. And he said it, he basically said they have higher priorities in marijuana to deal with. And he told the governors, you've seen that, right? I'm not cracking down on you. The governors left feeling refreshed. I'm just saying that so you know, because I know a lot of things are thrown out. Okay. Now, I think there's a lot of fallacies on both sides of the argument. I get tired of hearing that the proponents for it think it's going to be the messiah for the city and think we're going to make a ton of money. I don't buy that. And those against it, you can make the same argument almost with everything that's said about alcohol or tobacco. I've been using the prohibition example for a while because I think that fits the most closely with marijuana, just for the fact that the stigma was there with alcohol, and the stigma is there with marijuana. I'm not saying they're the same, I'm saying the stigma is there. And at least with marijuana, apparently it's a medical use. Alcohol, the use is really just, it was a really good vacation. Yeah, okay, let's see. To me, it's not about the money to be made. I'm of the mindset that I think there's a way to skin the cat that we can take some money away from the presented costs. I think we can do this in a way that's responsible. We can be more creative with it. I want to go forward, like with whatever decision we decide. I think it'd be responsible for us to not count on any excise tax passing and think worst case scenario. And if we can treat the industry like developers and they pay the upfront impact fees and that pays for the staff work and everything else, it doesn't cost the city out of pocket, I think I'd be okay with it. I'm okay with keeping, I'm going on a list, so you know I was writing up and down, alright, so this may seem out of order, but I'm just going up and down. I'm okay with keeping the ordinance in place, the urgency ordinance that we have in place right now, until December, was it 12th? Because I think we can still use this time to keep looking around the corners and addressing all angles of this situation. So I don't think really changing the ordinance right now or addressing anything to do with that is the ideal thing to do that right now. I lastly think it's a moral high ground to regulate marijuana. And I will say this because I do believe that alcohol and tobacco are harder to get for a kid in high school than marijuana is. The drug dealer doesn't care who he's selling to. They don't care how old you are. And I think that part of that it being illegal previously, I think that's what made marijuana a gateway drug. Because you're doing something illegal, and you're going to a bad dude or a guy that just has drugs, other drugs besides marijuana, so that opens the gate, right? Opens the door for other things to be done. And I will preface that with, remember, I've never smoked weed, so I don't really have a dog in this fight, other than to represent, right? And prescriptions are bad. So on the medicinal piece, I don't really like talking about the medicinal piece of marijuana because I know in the past it's been overly abused. Everybody's got the card and they say they're sick, but they're really not. I think we all know that. I think there's a percentage of people that actually, no joke, need it, and I'm not going to argue that. But I think the alternative, because it's all used for pain, right, essentially, painkillers are super bad. You just brought it up. I've known 2 friends that have gotten hooked on it and go to rehab. I mean, it just ruins you. And they're just totally normal people. So, I think going forward, having said all that, I would like staff, and obviously we have to, come to consensus on this. I think it'd be, I would like to, or a quorum on this, go forward with option number 1. I think we have to get to that piece first, and then discuss elections and that piece, because we're already looking at 2.5 years from the time we decide to do this. And let's say I don't think having an election in 2017 is realistic. Maybe it is. I don't think it's realistic. Maybe 2019 is the better, or 2018 is the way to go. I don't know. I think that's what would need to be discussed, and the intricacies of option 1, so we can give staff an idea of what the specifics are we want to cover, take out, go forward. Anyway, that's my spiel. All right.
You're the new guy? Wow. Dustin, way to dig in on this, and I think you have a lot of it right. I think there's a lot to wrestle with here. I think there's issues with bringing it forward in 2017. One, we have to get 66% of the vote. The other issue is that makes it just a race to get it to the ballot. We've done that race before. I remember how stressful and overwhelming that was for staff, and I don't think that's the right way to do it. I think the right way to do it is to bring it forward during the election cycle when we can do it right. And yeah, that puts us out to 2018, but I think it's the right time to do it. Ignoring this problem is not going to work. Just an outright ban is not working. There's a guy down the street operating today. You can buy it in Wildomar right now. That does not help us because it's illegal for what he's doing. It's illegal, it doesn't generate any taxes for us, and it's not helping our city. And it's hurting from the fact that he also, since he's operating illegally anyways, according to the newspaper article that came out, he was selling illegally too. So he was not even looking for a medical card and just sold to the officer that walked in the door. And
That's not true.
so, well, that's what the
Yeah,
paper
that's
said.
what it said.
Okay, thank you. So I want us to have something that's legal. I want us to have something that works for our city, that's not just out there. And I think that long-term, having some sort of legal option slows down the amount of people that are gonna pop up doing it illegally in our city, because there'll be someone operating legally, and hopefully that'll be enough to stop the illegal activities. So I'm siding with Dustin on this one. I think we need to go down door number one. I think we need to be looking at these options. I don't think we need to be closing our eyes to it. That's not to say that things can't change as we move down this process. It's not to say we can't decide at some point, you know what, this is not what we want. Or we might come to some conclusions as we go down this process that we don't want to do this. But I think it's something we have to look at. I'm also with Dustin. I think we have to find ways to skin this cat where we're not obviously pulling $250,000 out of the general fund to figure this out, because that's not going to work. We know we can't pay for it that way. So I'd be looking to staff to, yes, I think we do need to be aggressive. I think we do need to come up with fees and everything else we can to make sure that we're recouping as much as we can. And I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of upset industry folks that say, no, we don't want to pay that, because I think they want to see us move forward. So I hope that would not be a fight. But you know, this is not just dispensaries. There's three different pieces here. There's manufacturing, there's the growing, and then there's the dispensary. So we have to look at all three of those pieces, not just be looking at dispensaries. We have to look at what's going on right now and where we're going to go. So that's where I'm at, and what do the rest of council say?
So just to comment on that, you're saying that, so if we go for November 2018, then, but we are then going to be committing staff to this project. And pretty much everything else will be on the back burner, because this is going to take all their time. I mean, we know that because we've already been down, we did that once.
Well,
So I'm just saying.
a little less backbreaking if it's 2018 as opposed to 2017.
I have faith in Gary that he will.
And then you're not going to be able to recoup all those costs because of what Tom just said. We're not going to be able to get all those costs back. But anyway, that's just my comments to your comments. My comments are, this is obviously a very hard decision to make. And you can see tonight who's here. It's half yes and half defer. Emails, it's half yes and half defer. And phone calls, it's half yes and half defer. The ballots, the residents of the state of California voted that they wanted to have legal access to it. I don't know if that necessarily meant they wanted it in their city. I don't think, my opinion is I don't believe the residents of Wildomar who voted for it, not all of them really want it down the street from them. They want access to it, and they want to be able to buy it and smoke it and whatever they want to do, but it doesn't necessarily seem that they want it next door to Albertsons or in an industrial park or down a dirt road. So, and I'll say that because I actually had a resident who came to me and said that that resident uses it, that resident needs it for their child, but that resident also said, I don't want it down the street from me. And that's exactly what I feel it is, and I think putting it on the ballot is a very iffy proposition. We spent all that money, put it on the ballot, and it doesn't pass, and then we're out that money for good.
I would say that I agree, not ever, you know, you don't need to, I'm of the mindset the market would figure it out, and, you know, the market will decide where they're gonna go and how many they're gonna be, but I would say it's incumbent upon us to hear those concerns, and, you know, you don't want it right next door to Albertsons, let's say, so maybe we come up with another plan, maybe it needs to be across the street, 100 yards away from anything, you know, I don't know what the answer is, but I think there's an answer.
But the answer then, doing that would be through zoning. That's gonna be through CEQA, and we get about 2 lawsuits a year through that CEQA.
That would be the, okay, the developer is on the hook for that, so they wanna rezone, they pay the CEQA lawsuit.
No,
Not
they sue the
developers.
city. This is not developers. This will be a lawsuit to the city.
Well, that would,
And Gary mentioned that Long Beach approved 9 permits only, and they're spending most of their time shutting down the illegal ones. That 9 is 1 for about 55,000 people. We're not even close to that. So we go through all of this and we approve 1 here, maybe 2, and spend all this money. I just
And
don't
then-
see it.
And then other cities who have done that, who have chosen a number, 1 or 2, then, Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, they then have received lawsuits because how'd you come up with that number? How'd you choose 1? How'd you choose 2? It doesn't matter, it really is, whatever we decide is gonna
I
have
want to
lawsuits.
see the
Just
kinks
as
worked
said,
out before we decide. I
don't make decisions based on that, but we have to. It is a fact, it happens here all the time, and so not to just not talk about it or think it's not gonna happen
I
is
agree.
ridiculous.
That's why I think option number 1 is the way to go, because we're gonna continue thinking about it, and we're gonna continue to address these concerns.
So we're gonna dedicate staff for 2 years on 1 project,
Well,
and possibly be out the money.
And we don't even have that big of a staff to put them on something like this. Let somebody else that's got some money in their bank account, some other city.
Unless you know somebody wants to donate.
Yeah, that, that would work too. If they want to donate or whatever, that might, I don't know. Tom, can that be done? If somebody said, here, I'll pay whatever the research is to do this?
Someone can make a donation to the city,
Okay.
absolutely.
I just can't see spending money that we don't have on something we don't know,
What is
that
it?
everybody else is gonna be finding out real soon anyhow.
It's so hard, like, back to it's half and half, so if the residents.
And it's
voted
still legal
70-30,
here. It's just the storefronts we're talking about tonight. We're not
I think
talking
you
about
can
whether it's
You can still
legal.
have your plants, you can still smoke it, you can still access it.
You can still go buy it wherever you want. There's still delivery.
There's like 10 on Grand.
well, I would say there's a way, I think there's a way to skin the cat where that 250 shrinks quite a bit. I think we can do it. Now, would it be?
There's no grant opportunities, I don't know how you can spend
What I'm
it.
saying is,
bureaucratic.
I think we can be creative with it. I almost want to say, you know what, okay, let's give staff another month and come up with something better, I don't know.
It's even gonna take their time away from what they're doing now.
Well, I
I mean,
think
they're
you're-
already doing 2 and 3 jobs, all of them.
I'm only addressing this because 53% of Wildomar addressed it.
Voted to legalize it,
Well,
not
they
have a
voted-
dispensary in their city. They
That
did
wasn't
not
it.
vote for that.
They voted for Prop 64. Now, people are informed voters, I get it. Did the most of them maybe say, you know what, yeah, I want to smoke marijuana, yeah, maybe. Or
Maybe
likely.
they said, I want
They
the
likely said.
tax dollars for it. And they don't even smoke it,
Yeah,
they're
and-
thinking they're gonna get taxes.
There's a bunch of different,
And I see
Thanks.
lots of pros. I'm not against it at all.
yeah.
I'm against it for the same reason I was against the Edison polls. I don't think we have the money or the resources to be the first one out there and put our neck on the line. I just don't feel that it's necessary for us to do that the payback is enough to make it worth our while.
At this,
Put our name out there as a city, our reputation as a city. We don't know where it's going, we don't know what it's gonna do.
but you agreed to revisit it though.
Oh,
At a
yeah,
certain
oh, yeah. I just don't wanna be the first one out there. I wanna see, if Long Beach is gonna make money with only 1 per 55,000 people. I mean, Long Beach is the 36th largest city in the United States. I mean, they've got money, they've got a huge police force. I don't know how many employees they have in the city, but way more than we have. And how many departments and, so they're doing it. Let's see what they're doing. Let's see what Paris does.
I think there's a compromise here. I think there's a compromise somewhere. Gary, this 140 to 155, that's pretty much from now until 2018. That's the cost associated with that.
But that's not staff time.
Well, it's including the staff time, the staff costs and all that. That's from now until 2018, correct?
That gets you to an election.
November 2018, okay. So my thought is, I think the compromise,
That election is only for the tax.
yeah, I don't,
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't care about the tax. I care about what I propose, what I think would be a compromise is, okay, this is, maybe we're gonna spend a little money. Let's say, okay, you know what, 2 months, let's do this again. This is gonna take more staff time, but it's not gonna cost $140,000. It's gonna cost $10,000 maybe, I don't know what the number is. But we can at least go down the road of like, okay, what do we realistically, what are some ways that we can do this and get creative with it? With the help of the attorney, coming through and saying, no, you can't do this, or yes, you can, or you know what, maybe we could do this. I think there's a way to at least come to a middle ground where we can at least say we gave it our honest effort, and in 2 months, if the answer is still, and I would appreciate the answer to be not 140, but if we can get to, I would feel better saying, okay, no, we're gonna defer if we do our due diligence to, I'm not saying we haven't, but I wanna give this the time that I think it deserves, because, you know, we voted on it, like, Joe made a good point. I guarantee you 1938, whenever alcohol was made legal again, city council were discussing alcohol, and look where it's at.
If I may,
Yeah.
2 months, to do anything in November, we would have to have everything to the register by August 11th.
I don't think November 17 is even a thing.
So why,
even now.
I mean, so now you're looking at 2018.
18, yeah.
So,
And that's, I'm going forward, I know that. I don't think 2017 is even on the plate of possibility.
Right.
Well, then that would still, in my mind, be a defer. It may not be a defer for 4 years, it's a defer for 2 years.
Well, but then if we did 18, we're looking at 2020, so we're looking at 4 years, right? So if we wait 2 years, we're gonna put it out to 2022. I personally had the idea that we would get this wrapped up by the time December 12th rolled around. Maybe I'm naive, okay? Speed of government.
Yeah, let the state wrap that up and let us know what they're gonna do. And that'll give us an idea of what we need to do.
I'm like, oh,
We're not any worried.
you know, so we're gonna do this in a year.
Might feel like a year, but we're already into
I know.
so we're already out the gate 5 months behind that, so.
I'm the guy that's like, speaking of this, I never smoked it.
I was wondering that. I mean, do you want one at the farm?
No, I'm just
What
trying
would
to
the
be,
people at the
I'm
farm
trying to
say?
be really objective, and we've talked about it, I'm trying to be
I'm
on
just
both
saying.
sides. I think there's really straw man and slippery slope arguments on both sides.
I'm not against, and I don't think you are either, against marijuana, medical use, or recreational
Yeah.
use. I'm not against that at all.
Me neither.
I'm against sticking our toes out there and having dispensaries open or having agricultural or manufacturing before we know what all the rules are gonna be. We don't know. We can't guess what the state's gonna do or what the feds are gonna
The
do.
state's gonna do it one way.
They haven't decided what they're charging or how they're doing it.
That's not the problem, right? Like, they're doing 8%, they're
No.
just 7%.
15%.
The state is in the process of developing regulations to receive a license from the state.
Yeah,
And those regulations haven't been,
no, and that doesn't really pertain to us. What I'm getting at with that, what I mean by that.
Have those regulations.
No, what I mean by that, I'll put my foot in my mouth probably, but what I mean by that, I can't, I'm like arguing this. What I mean by that is, the industry has to get the license from the state, right? Okay, now, the state's gonna check with us to see if we have an ordinance, see if they can even get a license to do business in that city, right? So whatever the state does and how they do it, does that really matter to us? We need to come up with the ordinance first, so the state can even do something, right?
Exactly.
And I'm not,
The other way around.
no, because they have to go to the state first, right? We have to have an ordinance first before the state can issue a license.
Well, that's the current law. Gary, want to talk about what we've seen come out of the governor's office in the last 2 weeks or week, whatever it was?
no,
Okay, I will. I thought we paid you money for this. The governor's office is looking at legislation now that would basically take away the local authority on some of this stuff. So there could be a whole change in this 6 months from now, this legislative cycle, we don't know.
Local authority.
The local authority to whether or not we have this ability to say no as far as where it's gonna go in our area,
I
so.
thought that's what the problem. 64, who the people voted for, gave them the authority of a city.
I realize that, I'm just
I know, but-
it's coming out of the governor's office, so.
He's gonna go over he's talking about getting rid of 64 regulation that it allows the local authorities to make the decision, so he's gonna overrule what the people of the state of California?
Why
Well,
wouldn't
that
he?
isn't anything.
Why
new.
wouldn't he?
Yeah,
Well,
well,
of course, but I'm just
my
asking.
guess is if that's the case, and again, that just came out last week, I'm trying to wrestle down whether or not.
That's what I'm saying,
Really
there's
gonna
so much talk, this way, that way, but nobody knows for sure yet. And I just wanna take a wait and see attitude. That's, you know, you're hearing one thing and somebody else is hearing another thing, and I wanna know, what can they sue for? Are we gonna have to do CEQA? I wanna know how many of these cities get lawsuits, we get sued all the time. And I haven't even done anything wrong.
Well, we know there'll be a CEQA because anytime you change the zoning for something like that, it's automatic CEQA.
Right.
And this would be my point. 64 allows the cities to determine whether they want to have dispensaries, cultivation, and manufacturing. That's it. It doesn't say that we can tell people they can't smoke, can't get it, whatever. It doesn't say anything about that. It's whether we want to allow those type of operations in our city. That's, to me, that's the thing. You guys want to have that
And I
kind of
wanna
an
know the
operation in your
risk
city?
of having.
That would have to be on the ballot for the people of the city of Wildomar to see that you're gonna have grow operations, manufacturing operations, and dispensaries. Then you're gonna open up the can of worms. How many? Where? How are you gonna stop them from suing us after the fact when we tell them, well, we're only gonna allow 5? Out there, Coachella Valley is dealing with that. They got sued. They can't tell these people what to do.
I don't want to.
How are you gonna stop that? That's the problem I have with the whole thing. Smoking marijuana has nothing to do with me. And yes, I did smoke marijuana when I was young and stupid in high school. Okay, it's out there.
Because it wasn't regulated.
It wasn't regulated. We could get it pretty easy. Exactly. But I did. I mean, my personal opinion is, if you do that to yourself, that has nothing to do with you. But I'm to protect the city. That's our job. Protect our funds, protect the people that live here. And if we're gonna go down that aisle to where everybody's going to say cultivation, dispensaries, and manufacturing inside the little city of Wildomar, I want everybody to vote on that. That would be the only proper way to do it. Not whether they can smoke here or get it here, whatever, because we already do that. That's already a law.
So you're in favor of number 1?
No, I'm in favor of nothing. I'm in favor of defer until it comes out. And let's watch. Did any of you guys read the whole thing? I read the whole thing in Colorado. It's a mess, and they know it's a mess. I'm looking at other people already doing it and finding out what's going on. If you guys want to go that way, if the people of the city of Wildomar want to go that way, they need to put their name on the line and vote for it. But it has to be specifically for those 3 things, because smoking here and getting it here is not an issue. People already do it. It's not my problem. It's not my, and we're always gonna have the illegal guy pop up. They're never gonna stop. If we let 3 in, there'll be 6 more opening up, and we'll be fighting that. And there's no getting that money back. Every time we fight this battle, we have to pay that fee ourselves to our lawyers and to the judges and everything else that's involved. We're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to close the other 2 that we've already had. It's been a nightmare. So it's gonna be here. I know it's coming, but at this point, the feds are still saying what the feds are saying. I can't get around the law. I'm not gonna break one law to say, oh, well, let's just get rid of one law. But if we're gonna bring that thing, I think it's a wait and see what else happens around the cities and see how everybody else deals with it. And see how many lawsuits actually come. It was a good point. You said the one thing was 26. about how much we can recoup from these things. If you look at the amount of money at the top, the 140,000 or whatever, you're not gonna get that money back. There's no way, based on 26 right now, unless there's precedents, unless the courts rule that you can get that money somehow. But right now, there's not even action. Are you gonna fight that battle with the person that comes to this? And we say, hey, let's go, we'll let you in, you're gonna have to pay these fees. And then they turn around and sue us and say, hey, you couldn't have charged me that fee anyway. Now it's on us to protect ourselves from a lawsuit. There's nobody else to help us. So it's money going out
That's what
for no reason. And you can't skin a cat because it kills a cat, okay? You fleece the flock, you don't kill them and eat them. So in skinning a cat, you're gonna kill the cat. So even if you bring in businesses, you don't skin them because they're dead. And I mean, you have to look at it that way. But if we're gonna do it this way, then, I think it's a wait and see. And then put it on the ballot in down 18 or 20, I'd say 20, 22, I don't care. But it needs to be, everybody needs to decide, because I tell you what, people that voted 50%, I don't think they were talking about having a dispensary on their corner by their house or by the little, remember how small we are here. We're not a very big town. I mean, now where are you gonna have cultivation? What's that farmland gonna be? I mean, where's that gonna happen? I know they're already doing it in the county, but I'm thinking, as far as 64 is concerned, it's allowing everything. They already can do everything in the state of California and don't get in trouble. I'm fine with that. Everybody voted it through, that's all great. I'm only protecting the city and how much money we're gonna spend. That's all I care about. It's our job, it's like one person said, we have potholes everywhere in this city and we can't do anything because we have no money. And so we're gonna add more stuff to the city to pay for. But that's the way I believe on it. If it comes down and like you said, with the drinking and smoking and everything else, eventually they're gonna come up with a Surgeon General reports that blah, 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 smoking marijuana kills your lungs and blah, and then everybody's gonna go, well, we could have told you that because you're still inhaling it, right? I mean, come on.
So there's things that, again, I feel like every argument on both sides is hypotheticals, and because we don't know.
Well, there is, no, but it's
No.
not hypotheticals in other cities. It's not hypothetical in Colorado. It's not hypothetical in Washington. They're already dealing with the factors. They're already dealing with the loss of incomes, the loss of tourism. They're losing all those type of things.
I've done it.
Listen, I'm looking at a little town, small town, country style. I mean, I don't have a problem. They're gonna go next door. They'll go into Murrieta, they'll go to Temecula. There's all along Grand. You can go right there and buy it today. And nobody's getting in trouble as long as they have a card. And now that they're having recreational, once it's in 18, when they, see, we're trying to push something for 18 and we don't even know what the governor's gonna come up with. We don't know what the state of California, the actual information that they're gonna put out and say, okay, you guys can do this and that or whatever. We're gonna try to push $250,000. I'm not willing to give up $250,000 to try to put something on the ballot for 17 or 18. I'm willing to wait a few years. It's already here, it's not going away, and nothing has changed.
So, the studies I try to stay away from, not that I don't.
But that doesn't work.
No, what I'm saying is this, I don't use them in my arguments, because I did a public speaking class in college, right? And it was Peru, one of those countries with a P, made all drugs legal, right? And their use of marijuana went down to like 0%. Their use of like other illegal drugs went way down because they had the freedom to choose. Now what I'm getting at, it was an argumentative class, it was public speaking, but there's always two sides of the coin, so I try not to use that in my argument. I think
It is legal.
no, what I'm getting at is, what I'm saying is, I'm not using that in my argument, the studies, because I think you can find, there's sayings for statisticians, right? So you can,
I think what you're getting at, there's studies on
Right.
both sides of the
Right.
argument.
Yeah.
That's the way you look at it, right?
Google statistics, and like there's some pretty clever sayings.
Yeah.
I think this is moral high ground. Like you said, when you're 18, you were 16, and young and dumb in high
Yeah.
school, you smoked weed, right?
Yeah, sure did.
So I think in the city, if we regulate it, it'd be harder for our kids in the city to get it. Isn't it?
It'll never change. That will never change.
Well, I mean, are kids running rampant smoking cigarettes right now, or drinking? I would say no.
Oh, they are. Every one of my grandkids and my
Not
great-grandkids
rampant.
Yeah.
smoke cigarettes. Yes, they do.
Yeah, they can get them.
And I don't care their age.
But
So-
they're 18 ideally, right?
Right,
Not
so the
16.
question
So-
here, the question is at the end of the day is door number one or door number two?
Okay, I think door number one, and I think we cut out 2017, we go to 2018. In fact, really, I think what the answer is to come back in a month with some other creative ways to look at this. That's what I think the way forward is. I think it's responsible for us, so, and I get everybody, the argument's being brought up, 53% voted for it, right? You're gonna hear that from GM, she's gonna say 53% voted for it. I'm gonna hear 53% from Marshall that says, hey, you know what? They voted for this, not all of this. We don't know the answer, right? So I think it's incumbent upon us as elected representatives to kind of peel the onion, the skin back. And by the way, I retract skinning cats, all right?
Well, I got what you were saying.
Shave a dog or something, all right?
Yeah.
So,
We don't want to kill him, we just want to,
I think it's incumbent upon us as electeds, right, to peel this onion back and see what the right way forward. I think this is a good general, hey, this is what we may be looking at, but I think we can get creative with it. Now in a month, we come back, I promise you, in a month we come back and it's not feasible for us to do. And Gary and I are gonna be talking quite a bit, I think, about different ideas, me and Tom, but, and, you know.
we just spent, how many months? has it
No, and I
been?
get it, we've been talking and we have
I
been
know, I
talking.
understand that you've been talking, but we just spent 2 months waiting to do this one. So we're spending, every time we do that, you gotta remember, that costs all of our time, all of the money for the staff people. That costs us money because they're not focused on other things. A month isn't gonna change. I'm telling you, we need to wait until the state of California finishes what they're gonna do, and we'll see what they pull up with. Because right now, it doesn't really matter what we do, and if Ben is right, and the governor said that, this could be a moot point anyway. We won't have any local control, and then they'll be telling us what they're gonna do on our streets.
But if they don't approve it, then we have no local control.
But it doesn't,
anyway.
but then we can
So-
revisit it at that time. That's why deferment is the way to go. You defer it, let them figure it out, let them make their mistakes, let other cities and communities make their mistakes. And I always said, learn from the guy that's stupid, okay? Learn from the one that makes a stupid decision, so you can see if he, and why did he make a stupid decision. And also, Liz, learn from the guys that are smart too. Same thing. Watch them, and if they make it right, then, you know, then we can revisit it. But at this time, to try to jam it to 17 or to 18, we're gonna spend all that money. And then when it comes up with language, because that language has to be on there. Dispensary, cultivation, manufacturer. Because that's what this Prop 64 is telling us that we can only, that's the only thing we can control. Nothing else in here can we control, but those 3 things we can control. So we don't even know what they're gonna do, but these things have to be on our ballot for the people to decide. But you can't get it even to 18 because we don't even know what they're gonna put on. We don't even know where the state is at this point.
Do we even have, this is so, I mean,
So,
I'm going to make the motion, and we've talked about it up one side and down the other side, and I'm going to make the motion to defer this indefinitely until we have the information to make the correct decision.
how do I stop that?
Do you have a second?
What can you, I would, not indefinitely, but 2 years. Can you amend it to 2 years?
I'll amend it to 2 years.
Okay, second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
opposed.
Motion carries with 3 ayes and 2
That was
noes.
good. That was fun, right?
So it's gonna be a 2-year deferment, at least 2 years before we come back to this. Is that correct?
Yeah, but drill down on that a little bit.
We have to come back before the December expiration of the,
Right, so I'm gonna have to get a little deeper into that. So to defer for 2 years to 2018, okay? We have a temporary urgency ordinance right now,
We can extend it the year.
right? It expires in December of 2017. It can be extended 1 more year to December of 2018, but then that's it. There are no more extensions.
But the deferment means what?
It's kind of what I'm asking. What would be, I mean, a possibility would be to bring a permanent ordinance, not a temporary urgency ordinance. Meaning a permanent ordinance would have to go through the planning commission, they would provide a recommendation to prohibit marijuana uses until a specific date, and then on that date it would be revisited. And then that ordinance doesn't expire like a temporary ordinance expires. Does that make sense?
I'm happy with the temporary and going to December of 2018. I just want to see what's gonna shake out and who's gonna do what and make some decisions then. Then we can go to a permanent.
So we'd have to at least do it, because after December 2018, once that expires, then there's a nothing on
We
the
have to
books.
start that.
We'd have to and I don't want to, maybe June or May of 2018, start getting something permanent. So that in December of 2018, when that expires, then there will be nothing on the books.
But that wasn't what we could do here today? A permanent,
If we,
for a
Yeah.
4-year or 2-year
You could
permanent ban?
You could give direction on a more permanent ban that goes to Planning Commission for their recommendation, then comes up to you, up to City Council, with a date to revisit it in that ordinance.
Why don't we just keep it, we have the urgency of December 2018, right?
Because
So why-
because December 2018 is gone.
So why don't we just address it before then?
Well, right now we have one that's expiring.
we just voted to go 2 years and this is May, so
I
that's,
see your point.
You're talking December 18?
No.
It expires in December 18?
18.
The current one we have right now?
Well, 2017.
Current one expires December 2017.
Right.
It can be extended 1 year to December.
this would be to May 2019.
If we did a 1-year,
We just did. We just did.
Yeah, we did a 2-year, that's what.
We just did a 2-year.
we did a 2-year deferment on whether or not to move forward with creating an ordinance. We did not do a 2-year ban. I think we're confusing the point here. We have two different things we're talking
Well,
about.
the-
What did you
Order
call
number
it?
2 said deferment, so that's why I said that. If you want to call it a
2-year
ban, it's a
deferment
2-year
ban is what we
ban.
voted on.
But it is the ban.
Now the distinction is whether you want just the temporary ban that expires, or if you want a permanent prohibition that would say you will revisit this in May of 2019.
That is what I motioned, 2
Okay.
years from today.
Yeah.
So in order to do a 2-year prohibition from today, we will need to develop a permanent ordinance, because the temporary one that you have doesn't get you to May 2019.
Gotcha. So then why did we do a deferment today then?
Just to go against me. I'm just joking, I'm not taking it personal.
I know you're not.
Pull the joke.
So is there no willingness of this body to look at this again and potentially look at anything on 2018 ballot? I mean, I appreciate your
I just-
motion and I
I feel like there's so much work to do between now and then.
well, my thought was to bring something back before us for another decision point. Let's call it February of 2018. To that point, we could start staff down the path if that's where we want to go. It'll give us almost a year to see
That's 7
what
months, that's not a year.
it's almost a year.
May.
to-
Well, we may have an answer.
But we might have a lot more answers than we have right now. And at that point, that's a point where we could then say, okay, you know what, we're definitely not gonna do an 18, we need to go forward with a permanent ban. So that gives us that opportunity in February of 2018. Now, we still have to bring it back for another extension of the prohibition ordinance that we have in place right now.
Right.
So either way, we have to bring this back to the dais, and let's say, you know, I think we need at least 2-3 months before December to do that, so November. So either way, we need to bring this back in November to extend the current
For 1 year.
one that we have right now. And then I would say, I would like to see this brought back again in February next year, just to go over it one more time and see if that's really where we're at.
That's what you're saying, because we'll have more information.
We'll hopefully have more information in both ways. And in February, we could say, you know what, we can see the writing on the wall, this is not happening for Wildomar, let's go down the path of a full ban. Or we start, you know, that's the point where we could say, okay, we could talk about something with a 2018 ballot. And that could be both the tax, you know, asking the voters whether or not they want a dispensary in their city, all those questions could be on that ballot in 2018. But if we just defer this all the way out to, you know, 2 years, then we've missed 2018 completely. One thing I've noticed in this Other cities, you know, I wish we'd sort of seen this coming a little bit clearer, but I think it was San Jacinto voted just to get the tax on the ballot in 2016, last year, just so they would have it in place. You know, we could put the tax on the ballot no matter what we want to do and maybe not do the ordinance.
That's what I was thinking.
But that way, at least you get it on the ballot, because you can only do that on the 2018 and 2020, and then it's there. And then if we have an ordinance that enacts after that, great. If we don't, whatever, but at least you have that,
Just
We
you know what
spent all
the,
money
you
to
know.
just fill the ballot, we wanna-
Just like your direction, Ben, with Z, there's a lot of studies we need to do to even find that out, and a lot of money we need to spend.
Well,
Okay,
that's that first $40,000, but we could start that in February next year.
Okay,
and
but
have enough time.
here's the fact. The fact is, we just did a 2-year defer. Let me ask you a question. In December, if the body doesn't vote to
Extend it,
extend that thing, what happens to the defer that we just did?
doesn't matter.
You wouldn't have an ordinance on the books prohibiting any marijuana land uses, so you would need a permanent ordinance
Right.
Before then,
on the books.
For the 2 years.
before then, right, before December.
Right. Well, you have two choices. Either in December you extend it, or you adopt a permanent ordinance before December. But that's got to go to planning commission to get their recommendation, and then it's got to come up to you. You have to have a first read and a second read, and then it's effective 30 days after that, which means we'll probably just start the process now to go to planning commission at the next available meeting with that ordinance, get their recommendation, have it come up to you, have a first read, a second read, and then effective before December. And then you wouldn't have to extend it, it would just be a permanent ordinance.
Can we do like a counter motion to take away the 2-year deferment and go to February?
It's already been voted on.
Yeah, you can vote is voted. I mean, it's
No,
already been voted on
What
though.
I'm asking is there a way, to, like, I think February is actually a decent compromise. So let's say we jump the gun on the vote right now. Is there a way to take that back?
Yeah, we could ask for you
A
guys
recount.
to recount or go back, but I don't know if there's a
If the
person
will of the
that voted
body
for
is
it.
to.
So,
We just did a 2-year vote, a 2-year defer,
Right.
so we could see all the factors that are gonna be in play. I don't care about 18.
Well, then-
Honestly, don't care about 18 getting on the ballot. I want to see what happens in 18 with the state of California and all the other people that are doing it.
Bridget,
That's the whole fact.
you feel the same way, 2018, not even an option for you?
No, I'm okay with February 2018, let me revisit it then.
Okay, so I do hear that there's a third
Yeah.
vote to bring this back, so I'd ask that we,
So you're going to have to rescind our first vote.
can we rescind the
Defer.
first vote and then take some other motions?
You did a motion to rescind the first one.
Motion to rescind.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
Okay, so the first
Mo-
motion,
Motion carries 3 yeses, 2 nos.
okay.
But
I'd like to make a motion that we bring this item back before us before December, whatever timeline we need to extend the current moratorium. And then we also bring this item back to us for a full discussion on whether or not to move forward in February with implementation or going to the ballot or whatever else we might want to do with Prop 64 in February of next year.
Second.
discussion,
Discussion?
I think you made a motion.
because,
Oh,
so that it's not exactly the same thing we just did tonight. Because Dustin, you mentioned other ways, then I hope you come back with some other ways, because I don't see other ways.
I hope so too. I just think we owe it.
Or otherwise, we're just doing the same thing we just did tonight.
So basically what we did is we just got rid of 1 and now we're going to door 1.
No, we're still.
No, it's door 1.
We're
It's
still
not
deferring.
door 2.
We're def-
It's door 1
Yeah,
because you're talking 18, right?
I appreciate,
I understand why you're doing it. I'm just
We're not
saying.
saying we're gonna.
Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and start it now to get it ready for next February.
no, I'm not asking for any staff time to be spent on this between now and February, other than to continue the current moratorium that we have in place. And that will be the only staff time that we'll need to do, that we were probably gonna do either way, whether we were marching towards a complete ban or not, we'd have to do that before December.
Well, yeah, December we have to have it done.
Right,
That's
so before December, we need this to come back so we can have that discussion and continue the current in place moratorium.
I think that's fair. I think that hopefully, for you and Bridget, and everyone, really all of us, will have answers, more answers than we have now. I think it's fair to everybody in the city that voted for or against it. And if we don't have the answers, and there's no way to shave a dog, or a cow, then we won't do
Tip
it.
the cow.
You tip the cow, man. You might, that's abuse, all right, so.
So to clarify, Tim, I'm not saying.
No, I get it, I get it, I understand.
We will have
I
more,
think that's fair.
Yeah, it will give more time to see what the state's gonna do and all the messes that
we are
they're gonna create.
technically deferring for,
We know it's gonna create a mess, so
I
we
think-
already know that's coming.
It's fair, I think.
How much do you wanna spend on the mess, that's all it's gonna come
We're
down.
really not, I don't see how we're deferring because it's already in place. It's already there that in December we'll decide.
Well, we'll do the moratorium
What we
until
wanna do.
February.
We'll do the moratorium for a year,
yeah.
just to put it out there for the
Oh, yeah,
year,
okay,
so,
right.
yeah.
Can we do that?
December.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
what
we do
it's-
it.
So we changed it.
Right, so you can come back in before December and extend the moratorium for 1 year.
Right, right.
Then we will come
And
back
then
in
come back in February
February,
to have a further discussion where we're at with this.
like tonight, but hopefully there's
Okay.
a lot more
All right.
information.
Right,
That's fair.
that's my
We just voted that through, so that's fine.
We haven't voted on that.
No, I thought you just did that.
No, you had a
I
call
have
for
a
the motion.
motion.
Oh, to rescind, okay, gotcha.
So now you have a motion to that effect,
My second.
and a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No.
Motion carries, 4 ayes, 1 no.
That's right.
That's a good
Well,
compliment.
she heard it.
Well, I just wanna make sure.
I want some answers, that's all.
Yeah, I like.
Okay, so now we're moving on to the next item.
1.2, City Hall facility lease